Hello everyone, happy Saturday. So it's Dr. Lisa with another IEP update. This particular video though is going to cover a topic that was requested by someone who saw one of my other videos, and they requested that I do a video on transitions, the transition component of the IEPs, which is a very, very important part. Now, according to IDEA, and I think it was in 2004, it's recommended that transition plans become a part of the IEP the year that the child will turn 16. So the IEP, if created when the child is 15, if before the IEP will expire and that child will be 16, it's required by law that you have it in there. As an IEP teacher, as an LEA that used to be a part of the IEP teams, I recommend transition plans for middle school kids going to high school as well, because you really want to set the stage for that child to be successful and already have a mindset of what they want to do leaving high school. And college is not for everybody, so I'm not saying that a middle schooler going to high school or a high schooler going to graduate has to have things in there about a 4-year degree or that kind of plan. Everybody has a purpose in life. Like I said, college is not for everybody, even though I'm a strong advocate to always do your best and go to school. But there are many things that people can do to be very successful, and you don't have to always have a 4-year degree to do it. So keep that in mind if you have a high school kid who is getting ready to, embark on some other things, and you want to make sure they're prepared. So let's talk about IEP transition. So the purpose of it, like I said, is to totally prepare the child, not just academically, but for community involvement, for being able to advocate for themselves, for being able to have a means of independence out in the real world. But I did want to give you all some tidbits and places you can go before I start talking about all the required components that should be in there. It really, and in some states it varies. Every state is a little different when it comes to the required paperwork. And depending on your child's disability and, again, the state, you may be able to apply for a workforce investment net program. So check into your state and see if that's a possibility, because that would be very, very helpful for your child. But some things to keep in mind as a parent or as an educator as you prepare transition plans, there are some tools that are out there that can really help you. So one really good tool is the Brigance Transition Skills Inventory and transition questionnaires that are out there for students and parents. And there's also a book, a really good book. I think it's called Steps to Determination. If you're interested in it, I will confirm that that is the title and find out who the author of that book is. But it is a really, really good book. Some websites that you can go to help you with transition component of IEPs is imdetermined.org, ncset.org, and youthhood.org. So those are some really good websites that you can go to really get a feel to everything. So now let's go back to the transition component. Like I said, it is required under IDEA that transition components be done. Most of the time they do start at age 14, and they want that statement of transition service. And then once you get into, like I said, high school, that year that your child is turning 16 or the student is turning 16, then the transition activities need to be addressed within the IEP. So again, we want to make sure that we address instruction, that we address related services, that we address community services and community experience rather, and the development of employment or any other thing they may want to do becoming an adult. And that is going to vary depending on the severity of your child's disability. Because if it is a severe disability, then you're going to be looking at maybe adult living objectives and things like that. But you just want to make sure that you have everything covered and that everything is in place for your child. So when you think about the instruction piece of it, you want to make sure that the student is engaged in anything dealing with academics, okay? Any academic related activities, you want to make sure that your child is engaged. So one good thing to do is to go ahead and find out if the child is getting ready to go to high school or to college. If you know where they're going, and you're not anticipating like a family move or anything, go ahead and reach out to that school. Find out what things they offer, what activities they have related to academics. Schedule a time to go out and even visit the school. Be it middle school, high school, or the university, of course. Schedule a time to go out. Get with the counselors that are at that school that your child will be going to, and see if there are any mature students that are leaders in the school, that are maybe on student council, that you could go ahead and start building a relationship between your child and that student so that they have a go-to, a comfort, a safety net in that school before they even get there. And them sharing things with your child about the great things about the school and the great things and fun things that they do, it's going to take away a lot of anxiety. So that is a very important part of the transition component. So make sure that you have that kind of language in there where you're talking about making sure things are set up so that your child has a peer or a buddy, some type of buddy system that's there to help them. You want to also address the related services portion of the transition plan. And you want to make sure with the related services, that it's realistic in what your child needs. Anything that's going to be related to what is going to help them be successful. So you don't want to slight any part of it. You want to make sure that you pay attention to all of it. Community experiences. You want to make sure you talk about things that some things that you probably even discuss at home, about safety nets, what's important, what's not important, things to look for, just good overall practices for everyday living, and how to become an effective member of your community. So maybe finding some volunteer things for them to do so that they also can gain interest in other things to see what they like. With the community experience, there are 3 domains. Let me see, I have them written down because I would not remember those off the top of my head. Domain areas could include transportation, assessing community services, and leisure. So all of these things are important and should be explored by your child. You also want to talk about employment. Your child may decide they want to do a part-time job, paid or voluntarily, while they're in school. So talking about those things and making the connections in the community of people that work at places of interest to your child. So those things are very, very important. And it also looks good on their applications when they go out once they finish with high school, if they can see how they maintained a job during their high school career. That's also very important. So that's going to help them. When you talk about the employment piece with them, again, you want to talk about how to look for a job, how to interview, how to secure the job, how to keep the job once you get it. Making sure that you meet the prerequisites of a job before you even apply or go into interview, because you don't want to set yourself up for failure. Talk about if the time comes when you need to leave that job. How do you do that? So those things are very important to put into an high school transition plan, just to talk about those activities. And like I said, to talk about the vocational piece is also very important. Now, in the state of North Carolina, unless things have changed. The transition plan is still a part of the Deck 4. And there will be there's a date. So you have a duration date for the IEP. You want to talk about different things. So let's go over a transition plan from the state of North Carolina, okay? So there are going to be, I think it's 4 sections. There are 4 sections to a transition plan for the state of North Carolina. And like I said, sometimes the plans can vary state to state. The first section is going to talk about the student's needs, strengths, preferences, and interests. And like I said, again, you want to start preferably in middle school, looking, the 8th grader going to 9th grade. You want to make sure that you have input and information from more than one person. So, for example, for the North Carolina form, there's a place for the student to check off, parent, guardian, and other family members, adult service agency representatives. Yes, you can have representatives there. Make sure that you include representatives. School staff and maybe a pastor, but just other people that you know that could give viable input in this area, okay? So there's also a place where you indicate which age-appropriate transition assessments were conducted for the goals that you're setting. So there's informal assessments such as interest and skill inventories, observations, situational assessments. There are rating scales, interviews, and there are so many things. And I gave you some other things before I even started talking, other resources that you could go to, like the Brigance and different websites that you can go to find additional information. And you can also talk about formal assessments that you can give your child. All of that is going to be in Section A. Section B is going to talk about the course of study. Again, beginning at age 14. You want to update this annually beginning at the age of 14. So you want to talk about the future. Are they going to be doing college, university prep? Are they going to do tech prep? Are they going to do career preparations, or will it be occupational course of study only? So think about those things. You want to go ahead and think about what type of graduation certificate is going to be best for your child, that's not going to stress a child out, but that you know that they could attain. So you really want to have those things in place so that way the child understands their purpose and know what they are working towards throughout their high school career, okay? So it's very important. Section C, you want to talk about post-secondary goals. Now, Section C, typically you won't fill out at 14. You'll start that at 16 to talk about the post-secondary goals. And talk about, again, the education, training, employment, independent living, those kinds of things. And the last part of the transition plan for the state of North Carolina is Section D, and they talk about various transition areas. So, again, instruction, related services, community experiences, employment, adult living skills, if you should need that, daily living skills, if you should need that piece, functional vocational evaluations, if that's appropriate for your child. And on it, for each one of those areas, you're going to write out transition activities that's going to go for each of those areas. And then you want to go ahead and name the people, a person, or the agency that's going to be responsible for making sure that your child is successful and working towards those transition activities. And you want to do a completion date. So you want to anticipate when that goal is going to be met for your child, when those things are going to be set and in place. So you want to take, like I said, the transition component of an IEP, it truly sets the stage and the mindset for the parents and the child to know where they're heading. So it's very, very, very vital that you take it very seriously and that you make sure it's not something that's brushed over and something that is half written or something that doesn't even share a lot of information that's not really even going to help the child. You just want to make sure that it paints the picture, that it's realistic, that is a living document, that is not something that's filled out the day of the IEP and visited one more time when you go back for that annual goal. No. And as a matter of fact, as an IEP teacher, I can tell you that I recommend that along with getting your progress reports, your updates that you get of how your child is progressing towards meeting their IEP goals, you need to request the same thing with the transition plan. You need to find out if the school is really involving the community, people reaching out to them, making sure that everything that you said as a team and that you said what's going to help your child, making sure that everybody is on the same page and nobody is dropping the ball with it, and that it is being worked towards. It's not to be taken lightly. It's not something, especially for a high school kid and their senior year, all of a sudden you want to make sure that the kid is doing everything they said that was on that plan. Not fair to the kid. Makes no sense. Can't do that. Don't do that to our children. Take it seriously. Make sure that they send you regular updates on how your child is working towards the anticipated goals of completion for the transition that you have set. If you would like for me to actually complete a transition plan for you, I will be glad to do that. I will write one to show you. What I will do is I'll write one, and it'll be based on a scenario of a child. So I will give you a background of a made-up child, talking about a disability. So you could actually give me the disability of the child. So for example, if it is a child that has a learning disability, simply a learning disability, nothing like really, really major, then let me know. If it's a child who is severe and profound and they're going to be in an adult living facilities and going to always need help, let me know. And like I said, I will write up a scenario for that child and write a transition plan based on the scenario that I give you. I will include in that packet to you a copy of an inventory, for example, and pretend that a child has done part of it and pretend that a parent has done another one. So I will give those things to you if it's something that you need, and you can use it and compare it with what your school is providing you when you go in for your team meeting. So just let me know. If that's the case, send me a private message or send me an email and let me know what you all are thinking and what you need, and I will be glad to get that information to you. And of course, as always, if there are other topics that you want to know about, let me know. And I hope this video has helped, and I hope you're able to find the resources as being very, very helpful. Okay, until next time, thanks for listening.